You are not distracted. That word has misled you for years. Distraction implies something is pulling you away. But nothing is pulling you anywhere. You are doing exactly what your mind has been trained to do. Every scroll, every tab, every glance was a rehearsal. You practiced fragmentation until it became your default skill. Focus did not abandon you. You simply trained a different muscle without realizing it. And the moment you see this clearly, everything begins to change. Think of attention as a skill, not a state. Skills are built through repetition, not willpower. Every time you check your phone mid-thought, you teach your brain that switching feels normal. Repetition becomes identity. This is not a flaw in you. This is a feature of how human learning works. Your brain optimizes for whatever you do most often. It does not judge the activity, it only counts the reps. For years, the reps you logged were micro-switches. Tap, scroll, glance, switch, repeat. So when you sit down to concentrate, the trained skill activates. Switching feels easier than staying. You call this distraction, but it is performance. You are performing the exact behavior you rehearsed. Stay with me. This next part will explain something about your brain you have never been able to articulate. Researchers studying attention call this learned restlessness. The mind does not crave novelty by accident. It craves novelty because novelty became the reward signal it learned to expect. Dopamine followed every swipe. Your nervous system now anticipates that small hit. When it does not arrive, it manufactures the urge to seek it. That urge is not a personal weakness. It is a conditioned response, identical to any trained reflex. A musician trains fingers. A boxer trains footwork. You, without consenting, trained your attention to flinch. This is the part most productivity advice never mentions. Apps did not steal your focus. They taught your focus a new behavior, and behaviors, once taught, can be retaught. The framework most people use is broken. They treat focus like a battery to recharge. They sleep more, drink coffee, try harder. None of it works because the issue is not energy. The issue is training. You cannot wrest your way out of a learned skill. You can only replace it. This explains why weekends never restore your focus. Rest does not undo conditioning. Only new reps do. Reps in the opposite direction, performed when the old urge is loudest. Think about it for a moment. A pianist does not unlearn scales by sleeping. A boxer does not unlearn his stance by resting. Your attention follows the same rule. It only changes when you give it new motion to encode. Picture this. You sit down to read a long article. Within 90 seconds, an itch appears. That itch is not boredom. It is a trained signal asking for a familiar reward. If you obey the itch, you strengthen the training. If you stay, you weaken it. Every act of staying is a rep in the opposite direction. This is how retraining begins. Most people think imagine champagne is dramatic. Most people think becoming a millionaire looks dramatic. But the discomfort is the workout. It is the exact moment the old skill loses ground. What neuroscience discovered next changes everything. The brain reorganizes attention networks based on use. This process is called experience-dependent plasticity. It does not care what experience you give it. It only cares about consistency. Whatever you practice, it builds. Whatever you neglect, it prunes. This means your current attention pattern is not permanent. It is simply the most recent training data. Change the data, and the network changes. Not in years, in weeks. But only if the new reps are clean. Half attention reps reinforce the old skill. A clean rep means full presence on one thing, even for 5 minutes, even imperfectly. Brain does not score the rep. It only registers whether you stayed or switched. This is why the size of the session matters less than the cleanliness of it. Quality of presence beats duration every time. 5 clean minutes outperform an hour of fragmented effort. Your nervous system is encoding behavior, not hours. Comment: which of these patterns describes your daily focus struggle? Constant tab switching, phantom phone reaches, reading without absorbing. If any of this feels familiar, drop a single word below, focus. It marks the moment you decided to retrain. Now back to the deeper mechanism, because what comes next is more important than the diagnosis. If you have experienced this, you are not alone, and you are not broken. You were simply living inside a training environment you did not design. Now you get to redesign it. The first principle of retraining is this: attention follows what you reward. If you reward switching with relief, you train switching. If you reward staying with completion, you train staying. Most people think become indentally retirements, early retirement. I bet me training begins by reversing this loop. The second principle is harder. Boredom is the entry point to death, not the enemy of it. When the itch appears and you do not move, something profound happens underneath. The network resets. The brain stops expecting the reward and begins to engage with what is actually in front of you. This is when real focus appears, not as effort but as relief. The fight quiets. Almost no one reaches this state because almost no one waits past the itch. The itch is the gate. On the other side of the gate is the focus you assumed you had lost forever. What is coming next is the exact method that fixes this. It is simple and almost no one does it. Choose one task. Set a timer for 25 minutes. Place your phone in another room. Not face down, not on silent. In another room, fully out of reach. When the itch arrives, name it. Say silently, "This is the trained urge," then return to the task. Do not fight the urge. Do not suppress it. Just refuse to obey it. That refusal is the rep. Do this once per day for 7 days. Not perfectly, just consistently. By day 3, the itch will arrive later. By day 7, it will arrive softer. This is your nervous system updating its expectation. The reward pattern is being rewritten. After 2 weeks, extend the session to 45 minutes. Same rules, same naming practice. You are not building discipline. You are building a different default. The two feel identical from the inside, but they are not. Discipline depends on willpower, which fluctuates. Defaults run on autopilot, which compounds. The goal is not to force focus. The goal is to make focus your trained response to silence. Most people think becoming a millionaire looks dramatic. They imagine champagne, luxury cars, massive houses. It is a technical issue. Inputs produce outputs. Change the inputs and the outputs change. There is something even more surprising about this pattern. The strongest retraining signal is not the work session itself. It is the moments between work, the 5 minutes you wait for coffee, the 2 minutes in an elevator. If those moments are filled with scrolling, your training continues. The off hours teach the brain too. So the second part of retraining is this. Reclaim the small, empty moments. Stand, breathe, look around. Boredom in the gaps is the gym for focus during the work. The two are inseparable. Most people but never sleep 4 hours and expect athletic performance, yet they fragment every gap and expect deep work. The body of attention needs rest the same way muscles do. Silence is its recovery. When you protect the gaps, the work itself begins to feel different. You arrive at it less depleted. The mind that was constantly entertained becomes a mind that can be directed. That is the shift. There is a deeper psychology underneath all of this. Your sense of identity is shaped by what you repeatedly do. If you repeatedly switch, you become a switcher. Not as a label, but as a felt experience of self. You start to believe you are scattered. The belief itself becomes another rep. The reverse is also true. When you repeatedly stay, you begin to feel like someone who stays. That identity shift is the real victory. Not the task completed, but the self that completed it. This is why small, consistent sessions outperform rare, heroic ones. Identity is built in repetition, not intensity. A person who focuses for 25 minutes daily becomes a focused person within a month. Their nervous system agrees with them. A person who focuses for 4 hours once and collapses for a week becomes nothing. The signal is too inconsistent to encode. Consistency is the hidden engine. It is unglamorous and unsexy, and almost no one talks about it. That is precisely why it works. The world rewards intensity in stories, but the brain rewards repetition in reality. These two truths rarely align. Choose repetition over intensity, every time. Your nervous system is keeping score in a different ledger than your ego. The ledger of focus is written in small daily entries, not in dramatic weekend marathons or one-time commitments. This is why so many people relapse after a productive week. They mistook intensity for transformation. The brain was not convinced. Now here is the part that quietly changes lives. Once attention is retrained, the rest of your life reorganizes around it. You begin to notice what you actually want, because your mind is finally still enough to hear it. You read longer, you think clearer, conversations deepen, decisions sharpen. The chronic background noise of half attention fades. Something underneath it rises, something that was always there. You start to remember what it felt like before the training drift began, before every moment had to be filled. That memory is not nostalgia. It is your baseline returning, the original attention you had before the rewrite. It was never lost, it was simply overwritten by louder reps, and louder reps can be overwritten too. This is why retraining feels less like building and more like returning. You are not becoming someone new. You are walking back toward someone you already were, someone that training drift slowly buried. The challenge is this: tonight, before sleep, place your phone in another room. Tomorrow morning, do not check it for the first 30 minutes after waking. Drink water, sit. Let your mind be uninstructed. Notice what arises. Notice the urge. Notice the discomfort. Notice that none of it harms you. That single morning is your first clean rep. From it, everything else can be built. You do not need a new app. You do not need a new system. You need a new training program. And the program is unglamorous. It is the same small act, repeated until the network agrees. There will be days you fail the rep. Treat those days like missed workouts, not moral failures. The next session matters more than the missed one. Return is the entire skill. Return is the rep. Every athlete misses sessions. Every writer misses pages. None of them rebuild their identity around a miss. They return without ceremony. You will too. Return quietly, and the training continues uninterrupted. If this gives you a new way to see your own mind, subscribe so the next idea reaches you. Leave one word in the comments describing what you will train this week. Reading, writing, stillness, anything. That word is a public rep. It marks the moment you stop calling yourself distracted. You are not distracted. You are trained. And training, by its nature, can be rewritten. Your attention is the most valuable signal you produce. Guard the reps that build it. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are simply mid-rewrite. Begin the new training tonight. The old one ends the moment the next one starts.